Good afternoon. To respect your time, we're going to go ahead and get started. A few more people will probably be coming in from lunch, we hope, but we want to go ahead and get started on time. If you haven't put your name in for the drawing, there is a basket at the back. We'd encourage you to do that. We certainly would love to give you a door prize on your way out today. And today's session is very exciting if you're interested in saving taxpayer money, which I'm not sure saving taxpayer money ever goes out of style. It's particularly important when our economy is tight, and I think counties now are definitely having to do much more with much less. Part of what we really work to do at NACo FSC is to bring money-saving solutions that maintain high-quality standards and also allow you to provide for your citizens in a transparent fashion and with the kind of credibility that your citizens expect. And today we have some great perspectives on new money-saving solutions from some really outstanding speakers, and I'm very honored to introduce them. I'm going to go ahead and introduce everyone, and they're going to get up and do presentations and take questions, and I encourage you to interact with them. First of all, I'm going to introduce Dan Garza. He is the purchasing director. He's right here, the first one. He is the purchasing director in Dallas County, Texas. He was previously purchasing director in Bexar County, Texas. And before that, he was purchasing director for the Spurs. And he used to do all the procurement for the AT&T Center, not only for NBA, but also for WBA and for the hockey franchises, but most importantly, he has a championship ring. I don't know, do you guys see that? So I asked the rest of the panel, who else has a championship ring? And they assured me they left theirs at home, they just forgot them, but you know, Dan has the championship ring. He did not win the airline championship today though. His luggage is in Florida. So I think we can all feel his pain, and we particularly appreciate him flying in from Dallas with no luggage. He has a bachelor's degree in management and procurement, but Dan is one of the few procurement directors that I know of who has worked tirelessly his entire life in procurement and also has a master's degree in procurement. He is truly the expert in the field, and we are just honored to have him here today. Sitting right beside him, we have Daniel Smith, and Daniel Smith he does not have the championship ring once again, but he is general manager of education for Amazon Business, and he also has previously worked for Dell, and with Dell, he was responsible for business development in Europe and the Middle East. He's really held some incredible career positions. Prior to that, he went to work when he first got out of school at Texas A&M. Do we have any Aggies in the house? Obviously not, because they would have stood up. But he went, I've been around those folks before. I'm sure y'all have too. But anyways, he is a Texas A&M graduate, and he went to work for Perot Systems. Who remembers Ross Perot? We all do. So he worked for Perot Systems for 13 years, so really interesting background. And one of the most exciting contracts we have, our brand new launch with Amazon Business. So excited to hear what he has to say. Beside him, we have Chris Robb, and Chris Robb is someone that we work with hand in hand at NACo. He is the general manager of U.S. Communities. He has been with U.S. Communities for 12 years, and prior to that, he worked with one of our suppliers and has been in that public procurement business trying to save folks money for many years. He went to St. Joe's and actually has a marketing degree. He's also been married for 24 years and has 2 beautiful daughters, and that's one of the first things he'll tell you about himself. But still, no championship ring.
This is my
right?
championship ring.
There's his championship ring. There you go. Your wife would be really pleased to hear you say that. She probably does. Okay. All right. That's all good. And then we have J.W. Rust from Alvarez and Marcel, and we are so pleased to have him here today. He is a senior director for Alvarez and Marcel, and he is the lead for the U.S. Communities contract. He has been, what he's been doing recently, I was asking what are their projects. They actually have government-wide efficiency reviews, and he has been in Kansas and Louisiana, and right now he is looking at all the schools in the state of South Carolina, and they're looking at HR, finance, procurement, and making sure that the systems are as efficient as possible. He has a master's from Hopkins in Information and Telecom Systems, and he's also designated as a charter financial analyst. So a really great panel up here today, and I've talked way too long, and I'm going to let Dan Garza take over. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. My name is Dan Garza. I'm the Director of Purchasing with Dallas County, and I don't know why my presentation's not on the screen.
Lost your luggage and now
I know.
You might want to come here next. I can never figure this out. Get projected.
The screen just went blue. That's green.
Support's on its way.
Okay.
But, why is the screen black? Why is this screen black?
I was trying to, sometimes this projector won't show when the enable didn't connect.
So would it make sense for us to, we can talk a little
feel
bit.
free.
You want
I
to
can
switch,
just kind of go on the floor. Sure.
switch roles?
Yeah.
Would you rather go off?
That's fine.
So just to kind of keep things going, I'll go ahead and kick it off. Again, I'm Chris Robb with U.S. Communities. I'm General Manager here. Wanted to thank NACo for having us in and appreciate everybody taking the time to sit down with us. A little bit of what we want to talk to you about today is just give you a little bit of more background on U.S. Communities. I know you've probably seen the U.S. Communities logo around here, around conference, as well as at your annual conference. And U.S. Communities really, it's a long-term partnership that we've had with the National Association of Counties for the last 20 years. So we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. And U.S. Communities was created by NACo, as well as by a number of other National Association of Partners, like the National League of Cities and the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the Association of School Business Officials. We were actually really pleased to welcome the National Governors Association this year as one of our national partners. So great organizations to work with, and NACo really was the founders and the key driver to getting the program started back in '96. And the two main missions behind U.S. Communities at the time, and they really continue today, is to save government time and money. And that's really our mission in everything that we do. You know, going back to 96 when we started, whether it was for office supplies and furniture as our early contracts, to today, more advanced contracts, so that we can continue to meet the needs of the public sector. You know, we've gone from pens and pencils all the way to public sector consulting, and you know, we're trying to drive better solutions with best-in-class companies, and you know, it's a privilege to have be flanked by these two supplier partners of us. Amazon Business is our newest contract that we launched just last 2 weeks, I guess, 2 weeks ago, and you know, it's generated a ton of excitement around the country, both by counties and cities, as well as school districts and universities and nonprofits. So really excited to share a little bit more about what Amazon Business is doing and our contract with them. And then JW will talk a little bit more about the public consulting contract that came out of our innovations solicitation last year. Fairfax County, Virginia, who sits on our board, served as the lead agency on that contract. And it was the whole idea behind it was to bring new concepts and new solutions to counties in a expeditious manner, instead of having to wait years for a RFP process to go through that process. So it'd be really interesting to hear about what he's going to offer as well. So how are we doing on the PowerPoint? I can keep going, or
I can jump in. I don't really need slides. You know, at Alvarez and Marsal, we are for a global consulting firm. It was started in '83 by Tony Alvarez and Brian Marsal. And they came in to really help turn around troubled companies. And over time, the firm grew from 2 people to 4 people to finally 60 people in 2000, or 2,900 16 years later. That growth was really driven by making sure that we did the best possible job for our clients. In 2003, we started doing public sector work. We started in the education sector and have grown that work over time. We were helping out the Orleans Parish school system in the following year in 2004, both before and after Katrina. And fast forward to today, I've led a number of government-wide efficiency assignments for numerous clients, including Louisiana, Kansas, and right now we're working with all 82 school districts within South Carolina. And what's important about that work is that, aside from talking about people and process, you also look to what people are spending. And the procurement function is always something we look to say, are there ways to do this better, faster? Are there other tools that people can look to? I will use that as a teaser, and we'll turn it back over.
All right. Well, I'll keep it personal and sit down at the table with everybody else. All right. So I'm going to talk about the advantages of cooperatives from the county side public perspective. And so understanding procurement laws relates to cooperatives. I did a presentation with one of the local, in Dallas, Texas, a cooperative, and they had representatives from all over the United States under that business, under the co-op. And so the first thing I asked everyone is, do each of you know what the statute is that allows each government agency to utilize these cooperatives? And everybody had that during the headlight look. So, I always tell my staff and I tell everybody that I meet on utilizing cooperatives to make sure that they understand and know the government code, the statute that allows everyone to use and participate in the cooperatives. Not anybody can just engage in co-ops. So using U.S. communities, we have an interlocal agreement that our governing board approves, which is our commissioner's court, allowing us to participate in this cooperative. And there are procurement thresholds as well. Local county government, as far as Texas, has a $50,000 threshold. So anything over $50,000, we have to have our commissioner's court approve utilizing the co-op. Anything? So anything under 50,000, we can still use a co-op. Anything over 50, we can still use a co-op, but with government commissioners court approval. So the process is to get a firm fixed price quote through the co-op contractor, referencing the co-op contract number. And then if, again, it's under 50,000, we can cut the PO through the requisition process, and over that, get board approval. And so we talked about the governing board authority. So the advantages, there is a cost savings and a cost avoidance utilizing co-ops. How many of you dealt or prepared solicitation specifications or scope of work? So you know the timeliness, how long it takes. It's a long process. To develop the solicitation, it's a timely process. There's a cost factor to develop the solicitation as well. Also, placing the ad in the newspaper, there's a cost on that. And so the government code wants you to use the largest news circulation, and we pay a lot of money to place those ads. If it's an RFP process, you have to have an evaluation committee. So if you take those evaluation committee members, some of them are engineers, you take their hourly employee rates, and you add how much it costs to have them be in the evaluation process, is very costly. At RFPs, you have to negotiate contracts with the highest ranking vendor and or firm. And then the contract development, you have to have your legal team create the contract as well. So if you take that administrative cost, there is a cost avoidance by utilizing a co-op contract. So the advantages that continue, there is nationally leveraged pricing, so basically volume discounts. There's no cost to participate. I like the rebate structure. Annually, we would get close to about $50,000 for one of the participating contracts that we utilize through the cooperative. So we love bringing that to our governing board, showing that not only do we have a cost avoidance, but you're also having a rebate back to the county, to the general fund. It addresses immediate lead time. A lot of our co-op contracts have a next day delivery. Some of the co-ops we put on our punch-out, a lot of the financial management systems have a punch-out module where you can load these co-op contracts in this punch-out feature. And that way it bypasses the procurement team, because it's already vetted, the costs are firm fixed price, so that the departments can issue their own POs against that co-op contract. I hate to say this, but I deleted 3 buyer positions utilizing the punch-out and posting these co-op contracts in this module. So there's a cost savings as well, / cost avoidance. The integrity and experience. So these contracts that are vetted and executed went through a competitive process. So you have procurement professionals that are involved in the solicitation process. It's not any vendor saying, hey, I want to be on your co-op contract. No, it has to be done competitively, and they are awarded a contract, allowing us government agencies to utilize those contracts. So there is experience and integrity and ethics. Not to, and again, oversight by public professionals. I did some research on U.S. communities, and I was amazed. I didn't realize how it was a one-stop shop. There's news and events for everyone to see nationally. They have webinars, which is great for procurement professionals to advance and seek latest trends. Sourcing summits, case studies and articles, and on-demand videos. So it's a learning experience, a tutorial, all in one-stop shop. So best practices. When utilizing a co-op contract, verify the co-op contract information to including the term. So a lot of these contracts have term limits. So most of them have options to renew. So verify those terms and make sure you're aware of the terms and conditions and general provisions. Review the schedule of items. We've had situations where we've had departments want to utilize the co-op, but there may be a commodity or service that was not in the co-op contract. So these items have to remain within the contract bounds. Again, I mentioned about obtaining the firm fixed price quote, referencing the co-op contract number. And again, do not purchase items that are not on the co-op. Obtain governing board approval of any items exceeding the procurement threshold. and avoid shipping items without a purchase order. You have these departments that know that, hey, I know this vendor's on the U.S. Communities Co-op, I'm just going to call them and ship me some furniture. That happens quite often in my agency, so we have to do some educational training. A funded requisition is required before we can issue the PO to the co-op vendor. And that was my brief presentation. Any questions? All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, so where I left off was talking about the procurement reviews that we'll do. And we look very broadly at the process of strategic sourcing. And within that process, making sure that you have tools in the toolkit, including cooperative purchasing, are critical. There are times when you need emergency services and need quick response. There are times when you need to ensure that your pricing is best in class. And cooperative purchasing does both of those. There's a commitment to pricing, and there's a commitment to speed. You have the capability to get things very quickly. So whenever we're doing these reviews, it's important to make sure that that your toolkit not only is established, but people know how to use it. That you have the process established, that you have the approvals in place to understand it, and then your requisitions are funded. So as we're doing these reviews, what we'll do is we'll dive into specific examples in the strategic sourcing process. Say, where is it available? What is going to be the cost of carry? So what is interesting is all of the different items, from specifications to doing the solicitation to bringing in people on the evaluation committee. That is a lot of overhead associated with a spend. And so really understanding not just how much is it going to cost me to purchase this $50,000 item, but what is really the cost of carry to get all the way through that. And if there are ways to drive improvements in the process and drive down that cost of carry, it drives efficiencies into the entire procurement organization. So one of the things that we'll look to is how do you really bring those tools in the optimal manner so that you're spending the right amount, you leveraging cooperative purchasing to drive both savings, but also time and process efficiency into the organization.
All right. Just out of curiosity, how many of you are professional procurement folks or do that primarily in your job? Okay. By the way, I was super excited that the slide deck wasn't working because at Amazon, we actually don't use PowerPoint at all. Instead, we write 6-page documents. So for the balance of the time, if you guys are okay, I'm just going to read a 6-page document to you. Procurement fundamentally, let's go down to first principles. What is procurement about? Procurement's about efficiently, effectively matching demand and supply, and doing that in a way that's competitive, and provides value to the overall organization and helps end users. These are the individuals in departments. These are folks that are literally running our cities and counties and schools and states, helping them get the things they need to fulfill their mission, right? And I think if you look at the core of what a cooperative contract is, and I think my colleagues here have expressed this really well, it's finding smarter, more efficient ways to connect that supply and demand really efficiently. And if you think about why in the world Amazon is at a government conference, why are we talking about procurement? If you think about what Amazon is, it's a technology company, right? We're in a lot of different business segments now. We're just talking about how Jeff Bezos was at the Oscars last night. But if you look at the core of what Amazon is, it's a technology company that's built multiple businesses and multiple industries by helping connect supply and demand. And so if you look at where Amazon Business, which is the division that I'm a part of, how that formed. Several years ago, we looked at who was spending on Amazon.com, our retail, our consumer site. And we found that there were literally millions of individual users spending billions of dollars collectively from counties and cities and public schools and universities and Fortune 1000 companies and SMBs, small and medium businesses. And we knew this because they were using their procurement card or their email address had a county email address associated with it. And we started talking to those individuals, and we indeed confirmed that we were really, really good at helping those end users, those people who are primarily responsible for delivering their mission. We're really good at helping them get the things they need very quickly with free 2-day shipping and being the everything store. And then we started talking to some of the individuals that are similar, or maybe even some of them that are working in your county government structure that are responsible for procurement or finance professionals. And I don't think we received quite as warm a welcome, because if you think about it, the idea of procurement traditionally has been, let's negotiate let's first of all identify demand, then let's go negotiate contracts based on that demand. We have to have a really good crystal ball to do that, because we need to look years into the future to determine what the items and the volumes that are needed by our organizations to procure. And so that's kind of the traditional way that procurement is done. You'd find a strategic supplier, you'd engage with that supplier, you'd set a long-term contract with that vendor, and then you'd ride out that contract, and you try to drive as much spend through that contract so that you could ensure that you're getting value for your organization, and also gives you leverage when you go renegotiate that contract when the initial term is up to get even better pricing. That was the kind of traditional model. Now in comes Amazon.com. It sort of started leaching spend away from those contracts. And so what we realized very quickly is that we needed to not only be convenient, not only provide convenience. By convenience, I mean the ease of finding things for end users, the immediacy of being able to find whatever you need and ordering it and shipping it in 2 days. But we also needed to be compliant. And compliant took on a couple of different dimensions for us. The first was building some basic technical tools, like being able to accept a purchase order and not charging sales tax for certain jurisdictions. Being able to provide visibility. So when organizations go out and try to determine and do consulting or strategic reviews about what's being spent in their organization, Amazon just showed up as one blob line item, usually in the millions of dollars, with no clue how that money was really being spent or what commodity categories, what divisions or departments that spend was going to. So we built those analytics and reporting tools. And that was one part of compliance. But there was an even bigger part, which was, are the items that are purchased off Amazon truly competitive? And have they gone through a competitive sourcing process? Has a procurement professional who's versed in the laws and regulations of procurement and how things should properly be purchased really vetted the Amazon experience to ensure that it meets these requirements that Dan and some of my other colleagues have talked about? And so when U.S. Communities, I'll ask Chris to talk about this in a minute, when U.S. Communities and a lead public agency, Prince William County Public Schools, just here in our backyard, released a solicitation, public solicitation that was advertised, as Dan outlined, for a marketplace solution. Amazon was really excited to respond to that for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was clearly a new vision for procurement of having a marketplace where there's true competition. You think of Amazon as being a seller or supplier. There are actually millions of suppliers on Amazon Business's marketplace. Everything from large multinational corporations to very small local businesses, each that set their own price and effectively compete against us on our own marketplace. But we needed to make sure that truly met competitive sourcing requirements. And we looked at all the different cooperatives that we could have partnered with. And there are 5 or 6 big national ones. There are literally hundreds, possibly thousands of small interlocal and regional ones. And when we saw this solicitation from U.S. Communities, after the research we did, we realized that U.S. Communities has a truly competitive sourcing process that passes muster, that truly meets the legal and regulatory requirements. And I'd like Chris, if you don't mind, maybe talk about that process a little bit, because I think it's really key to how you pick a cooperative. You want to really test the process that cooperative takes to bring on a supplier like Amazon.
Yeah, so I think you laid it out really well, Daniel, and Dan did a great job of kind of setting the precedent as well. It's key when you're looking at various cooperatives, just remembering U.S. Communities is just one of your many options. So we're a tool in your purchasing tool belt. With the proliferation of cooperatives over the last 5 or 6 years, it's very important to take a look at the processes that cooperatives are following, so that you make sure that it's fitting your procurement regulations and you're following state statutes like Dan talked about. U.S. communities, one of the big differentiators for us is that we follow a lead public agency model. So we work with a large public agency to do the solicitation on our behalf and on behalf of state and local governments nationwide. So, Dallas County, for example, has been a lead for us on contracts in the past. Los Angeles County, Fairfax County, a number of cities, number of universities, school districts. So it's crucial that you have that, actually a public agency doing the solicitation, and the evaluation is done by that lead agency as well as other agencies around the country. So for that new Amazon business contract, Prince William County Public Schools was the lead agency for this solicitation, and we brought in a national evaluation team. So Kansas City, Missouri came in, Hartford Public Schools in Maryland came in, and Maricopa County, Arizona, and North Carolina State University. So we want to try to make sure that we're bringing a broad spectrum of agencies to review the process and provide input prior to an award being made. So crucial in any cooperative contract that you want to look at, make sure it's been done by a public agency and they're following the right procurement guidelines. Dan, I don't know if you want to add a little bit to that or not, but
That's you're correct. All government agencies have an internal audit process, but they also have external auditors, and they'll pull all our contracts, including cooperatives, and they go and entrench into the process to verify that it did go through a formal solicitation process. So you are correct that it needs to be vetted very well.
So I think the headline here is that if you want to simplify and create sort of this speedier way to connect the supply and demand to enable the missions in your organizations, a cooperative contract, we believe is one of the ways to do that. And I think one of the most effective ways to do that. This idea of not having to have a 6-month, 6-person solicitation process and being able to trust the process of a reputable. And I liked what you put, I wrote this down, integrity and experience. I think when you look at U.S. communities, and Chris has not asked me to do an advertisement here, we did our own independent evaluation of cooperatives and determined that U.S. communities followed in a process that matched those criteria that we had of integrity and experience. Cooperative contracts are a way to accelerate that. We've talked a lot about, I think, the cost-saving benefits and the efficiency benefits of cooperatives. I want to talk a little bit about how a cooperative in conjunction with Amazon and this marketplace idea, right? This idea of having a marketplace where suppliers and vendors are competing. It doesn't work for every category. For those of you, anyone who does IT knows that you're not going to allow a marketplace probably for your hardware. If you do that, any given end user in your organization is going to buy a laptop. You're going to have 50 different laptops, and the IT operational support costs are going to balloon. So that marketplace concept, I will readily admit, does not work for every commodity category, not every product category, but it's going to work for a lot. And the benefit is it creates this true real-time competition. It's not a reverse auction. It's not a fixed term, fixed queue, long-term contract, but it ensures that through the life of purchasing on that for that commodity category, for that product category, that you're going to get best pricing because of that true competitive nature of a marketplace. I want to move off just for very briefly and talk about another benefit of the cooperative plus Amazon story that I think is really powerful, specifically for counties and your counterparts in city leadership. And it's really a story about economic development. So you may not think of Amazon first when you think about local businesses, minority, women-owned, veteran-owned businesses. You might think of a big monolithic company based in Seattle that's in 50 different segments. But I want to go back to that comment I made about 2 million sellers on the Amazon business marketplace today. And what a lot of people don't realize is tens of thousands of those are in your counties. They're local businesses, they're small businesses, they're minority-owned businesses. And what Amazon does, we have an entire team of individuals who will go to those folks and say, you today are selling to a county, your county government, maybe serving a specific department like Department of Transportation or Department of Parks and Recs. You don't have an online presence today. And our team is gonna come alongside of those folks. Some of them don't even own computers. And we're gonna help them become sellers on our marketplace. In some instances, we're gonna provide them seller financing. So from a supply chain perspective, they can create more product faster. We have fulfillment capabilities. We've expanded our fulfillment network with our warehouses, our delivery centers in almost every state in this country now. We're gonna provide fulfillment centers so that you can have your manufacturer of your product, or if you manufacture it yourself, you can ship items directly to Amazon's warehouse. We will store it for you. And when someone orders it, we'll pick it, we'll pack it, and we'll ship it on your behalf. And we'll do that at a cost structure that works for smaller and local businesses. And what you see is if counties can partner with Amazon Business on the buy side, on the folks that work in your organizations who are responsible for these missions, they're gonna find the things they need more easily, and it's gonna be competitive and compliant because of the U.S. Communities contract. But we also have this great economic development story where we can target with you, partnering with you, these small and local and diverse businesses, help them get on our marketplace and help them thrive and grow. And what a great story to stand up in front of your constituencies and your stakeholders and talk about how this overall program not only created cost savings and efficiency in your county in the way you operate, but it also helped the communities that you serve. And I think that's a really powerful story in addition to the cost savings and compliance and operational efficiency piece.
I think when we're doing our reviews, it's amazing just how many opportunities there are and how much service you can find on the U.S. Communities contract vehicle. I think there are 40 plus vendors that are out there covering everything from HVAC to roofing to supplies and purchasing of some of the Cintas uniforms. It's when we'll get into these strategic reviews, that's part of what we'll do. We'll start with a categorization of all the different things that the county or the government agencies are buying, and starting from the top down, where can we look to create a strategic buy, but where can we start peeling off things that can be more efficiently purchased? Where can we start looking at things that hey, how much do you get currently today for the spend? How much would you get off of it for a contract that you do, or how much could you do how much would you get if you went straight to Amazon? And if the differences are not that great, right? You're talking 5% versus 4%. What's really the cost of carry of doing a full-blown procurement for something that is a $50,000 spend where you're trying to save $100, right? So it's important to keep those perspectives in mind as you're going through the process and trying to maintain compliance with all of the government rules and regulations that are out there. That's ultimately where it all starts, is how do we make sure that we're staying in compliance, we're not getting outside of bounds, but we're doing everything as efficiently and effectively as possible.
Since we have a small group here, maybe we could just open it up to the group for more of a Q&A session and have it more of an interactive second half of the workshop. So any questions out there that maybe we didn't cover or you're hoping to hear about? Or
could you expand a little bit more? I think I have to wait for a mic. All right, I heard it rattling. I'm a county commissioner in North Carolina. Can you expand a little bit more on the Amazon Business concept? Specifically, do you have a package that elected officials could use? Do you come into the county? How do you help us implement that? And then could you speak to the compliance requirements that a startup business that's using that service would need to be able to interact with the government?
Yeah. So Amazon Business launched in kind of mid 2015, and we grew quickly. We were at $1 billion of revenue before our first birthday, and we've continued to grow at 20% month over month since then. But don't let that confuse you. We are a startup. And so I think we are still very, we are still very much in the kind of what I would call the crawl phase in terms of packaging solutions, right? And so I think where we are, particularly on that economic development front. So let me kind of describe two halves of the house. There's that buy side, where those are individuals in your organizations purchasing what they need for mission, and then there's that sell side. Those are the organizations that are that are in your communities, that are going concerns that are selling to you. So on the buy side, we have, I think, a fairly packaged solution, fairly straightforward process of coming in, and it's you think about procurement, e-procurement software as mentioned. These can be months, sometimes year-long deployments with lots of IT involvement. Our general deployment time is about a week. There's no cost to use Amazon Business, and we integrate with over 50 e-procurement systems. Talked about punch-outs with no customization. We built pre-configurators that just kind of work. And so I think that's a fairly mature part of our business. What we see is, in general, you start seeing the benefits of using Amazon Business about 2 months after you pick up the phone and calling us. Benefits of cost savings, supplier consolidation, efficiency of purchasing in your organization. That's kind of one part of it. The other part of it is this economic development side of working with these small, local, socioeconomically diverse businesses. And also, I should point out, too, that we actually, in some states, even work there are some state and counties that have work programs or even manufacturing, kind of light manufacturing that goes on in their prison systems. Those can even be sellers themselves on Amazon Business to create revenue streams. So I think that's a little more bespoke. It's a little more customized right now. It's not a I think we're thinking a lot about packaging it, but what I'd love to kind of throw this out is that we're looking for we've already done this with several counties, in the process of doing it with several counties, but we're looking for kind of pioneering build partners here. We have the data that show that when these suppliers come onto the Amazon Business Marketplace and they stop just selling locally, and they start selling literally globally if they choose, they grow orders of magnitude growth. But we haven't quite productized that into kind of a turnkey solution yet, even though we're doing it with several counties and cities. So I'd love to, if you're interested in talking to us about partnering there, we'd love to have that conversation with you.
So I'm just going to commit NACo to something. I think that might be a good story for NACo to help us write and get out to the counties across the country. I think it'd be a big win for folks to have at your fingertips.
And I would say we actually have a case study that we're working on. So we're working in South Carolina and doing the deep dive, roll up your sleeves procurement review. I was shocked at the number of Amazon purchases that we were seeing on the purchase cards. Now what that meant was, because they had not yet integrated with the Amazon system, we had no idea what the spend is on. And so it makes it very difficult to get in and say, okay, was there a way to have done this better? What are the compliance requirements for it? The school systems down there have very low thresholds. You talked about 50,000. There's just 2,500. So virtually everything has to go through a competitive sourcing process, has to get 3 bids. And so being able to integrate with an Amazon solution like this, we're very excited about the ability to talk to them and see how would that solution overlay within the South Carolina system, where every single purchase transaction report that I'm getting has line after line of Amazon.
And that's a big reason why we did this Amazon Business contract. Is in speaking with agencies across the country, everyone was buying either through Amazon.com or some with Amazon Business, but without a contract vehicle. So we call it Maverick spend. So you just have end users buying whatever they want, really out of compliance with your procurement guidelines, and without any visibility to what your end users were purchasing. So with this new contract, you're able to bring that spend back under your procurement guidelines, as well as increase your visibility to what's being procured, manage it better, so you have controls in place that you can put in with their system, and we just really think it's going to be a great tool for your counties around the country.
And keep yourself out of the press.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Coy Spurlock. I'm actually a contract negotiator for Parkland Hospital in Dallas County, so glad to see you. I wanted to know if you could speak more to the difference between cost avoidance versus cost savings.
Yes. Okay. Cost avoidance is bypassing the solicitation process, as we talked about earlier. We talked about, you mentioned 6 months to do an RFP. Depending on the complexity, it could be up to a year. And then you still don't have the commodity and or service. So by avoiding the solicitation process because it was already vetted and competed, there's your cost avoidance. Your cost savings is your upfront commodities already available. Your savings is through rebate structure as well. So it's a win-win solution. It's a turnkey solution, and it's transparent. I would like to also add, on several of our U.S. communities vendors' contracts, I personally have asked them for small minority and women business enterprise to include veteran utilization on manufacturing and participation reports, which they quickly provide, as well as the green initiative reports as well.
Tanya Graham, I'm with the GEOS Institute, and I just wanted to confirm, when you say that there are thresholds for purchasing, if a county is a part of, say, U.S. communities, and they have a threshold of $2,500, does it mean that if there is a negotiated contract in U.S. communities that's over $2,500, that they can still, that allows them to sort of bypass that threshold? Is that correct? And then my second question is, how does U.S. communities decide what types of contracts are needed? So what is that process for determining that they need a contract to serve their members?
So we do it completely based on feedback that we get from the marketplace. So both from the supplier or business marketplace, as well as from the public agencies. We have an advisory board of public purchasing professionals around the country. There's about 30 that make up our board, and they provide a lot of guidance and ideas to us as we're putting contracts together, as well as we have a program manager, a team of program managers. There's 15 spread across the country. They're meeting with public agencies every day and talking about what do we need to help you do your job, make it easier for you to do your jobs. What are we missing as part of our program that would be a benefit to you? So that's actually how the online marketplace came about. We had what we would call some gaps in our program. So years ago we had an office supply contract, and we haven't had one for a few years because of what's gone on in that industry. But it was a gap for us, and that was the number one category that was highlighted as part of this marketplace, because we knew it was a need for agencies and something that we could really help to bring a good solution for. From something simple like that to animal supplies is something that we always hear from, especially from rural counties, that you need an animal supplies or animal food contract, and that's actually another one of the categories that we called out with this marketplace, because it was a big need, but we didn't necessarily want to do a standalone contract for that. We felt that we could incorporate it into this broad-based contract category.
So your procurement threshold is $2,500. Okay. So whatever the threshold is, you can still use the co-op, but bring it back to your governing board for approval.
My name is Chris Airford. I'm the Chief Information Officer of Tarrant County, Texas. Good to see you, Daniel. So my question is, and that relates to the last speaker. Which areas or how do you make a determination of what type of contracts to do the pre-negotiation for the community? So I'm pretty sure that anyone that is a procurement officer, I'm sure Danielle knows that the young lady across the room respectfully knows that your information technology department is typically your problem child. And the primary problem is because the laws are written for brick and mortar. They're not written to buy technology. Just given how quickly you may be negotiating in a month and the ground shifts under your feet already. Is there some way that U.S. communities and NACo and they've been looking at this and probably can do something creative to speed up the process to buy technology?
Yeah, we actually launched a new technology contract last year that Fairfax County was the lead on, and it really highlighted a number of manufacturers that we felt were key for counties. So we have Amazon Web Services as a contract holder through one of their resellers, Google, Oracle. We have a contract through Oracle. We highlight a number of folks like Microsoft and Dell and Lenovo and Panasonic. So that contract was launched last June, I guess. So it can certainly get you some additional information on it. Very broad-based as far as scope, and it's built in a way that we're able to bring in new technologies into that contract as they come out, instead of doing a new solicitation for a new partner or new technology. The way that contract was scoped by Fairfax, they're able to add new partners on the fly as far as manufacturers and products.
And is that primarily equipment or services, or is both?
Both. Yep.
I'd be interested in knowing a little bit about that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just an additional comment. I think what you see in many states and counties is the separation between IT procurement and everything else. And I think part of that is a function of the specialized nature of IT procurement, but I think it's also a function of the changing way that technology is purchased. Procurement is traditionally I know exactly how many units I need to purchase. They're definitive, discrete units of a purchase. Whereas cloud computing is a little different, right? And utility computing if you're going to buy, there's some great models out there around buying hardware as well, the end user computers, right? So laptops and desktops and other peripherals that end users use on more of a lease or flexible basis. And I think U.S. Communities has done a nice job of representing that in the contract offering they have for cooperatives. I think just kind of to be a little provocative, I think this is an area where if we're looking for areas where procurement and counties could get, and maybe NACo can play a leadership role here as well, of really thinking through how IT procurement is done and coming up with smarter ways, because I think we're still using very traditional, discrete, unit-based ways of measuring what we need to procure for IT in a world that's not measured that way, that scales up and down based on demand, like cloud computing. And so I think that's a great, it's a sort of a great area to pioneer and maybe partner with U.S. Communities and NACo to think through ways to make county government more efficient through IT procurement. One of my colleagues who leads actually our government practice, and unfortunately she couldn't be here today, came from the Office of Federal Procurement Policy. She ran that department. It's inside of OMB. She actually just left DC to move to Seattle to take a role with Amazon. And one of her big pushes was how can the federal government procure IT in a smarter way. So there's some early thinking there, but I think it's an area that's ripe for innovation.
Are there any more questions? Okay, we have one more question back here.
So in the future, is Amazon or the county
looking to, in the review process, have some sort of way to evaluate the social economic impact of utilizing the platform to encourage local minority-owned businesses, veteran businesses, things like that? What would the review process kind of look like?
Yes, there's initiatives, and they're looking into. We have an MWBE program, and we're going to look into an SBE program as well, creating a whole division. So that ties into the procurement process very closely. So the Commissioners Court and the judge are strong advocates for it. So it does cross over on all levels. So it's a partnership as well.
Yeah, I love that question. I think, I lead our education division. I think it'd be fascinating to take a couple of pioneering counties who are interested in trying this, partnering with a local academic institution, a higher education research institution that has a strong economics department, and almost watch what happens and see if we can develop that together. I love that idea.
Daniel, I just had a quick question for you, and then if there are no further questions, Sharon has asked me to make a couple of closing remarks, but I just, and perhaps this came up earlier when I stepped out of the room for a moment, but could you talk a bit about this open marketplace and the pricing impact on the open marketplace on Amazon Business, on the Amazon Business platform? Because it's somewhat out of the traditional U.S. Communities contract on the platform, correct? In terms of, you can pretty much rest assured if you're buying another product that it's going to enjoy the cooperative purchasing of all public entities that are registered and offer a discount. We've been estimating around 10+% in terms of that discount. Amazon Business is a bit different. Would you mind just explaining that to the crowd?
Sure. Yeah, I think the traditional model is when you're negotiating a fixed term, fixed SKU, fixed item contract. There's kind of two ways to negotiate that. Probably two main ways. One is on price. I'm going to get a percentage discount, or I'm going to get a negotiated price on items. Or secondly, I'm going to get a rebate on those items if I hit certain volume spending thresholds. And I think what Amazon has certainly didn't invent. I think this is just good macroeconomic principles. But one of the things that I think we've sort of popularized is this idea of creating competition in real time to get best pricing. And I think I mentioned this before. This does not work for everything. Rock salt for your streets is probably something you need to buy in large quantities, store, and have ready for emergency preparedness situations, right? I don't think marketplace pricing and marketplace delivery is going to work for that. I mentioned also earlier IT, right? So laptop computers. You need to have operational efficiency and consistency in what you purchase. There's some ways Amazon can help there, but that might not be a marketplace option because there's services attached to those. But when you think about commoditized items, right? You think of what we have on the U.S. Communities contract: lab supplies, books, office supplies, some of the animal food and supplies and so forth, electronics. I think that there may be an opportunity to think about contracting slightly differently. And this is new. This is not universally accepted. But we kind of took a page out of the Amazon.com retail consumer experience where we saw prices when we were the only seller. When we started Amazon.com, to be clear, we were the only supplier, right? It was only Amazon would buy things, we'd put them in our warehouse, people would buy them, we set our own price, people would buy things from us, and then we'd ship it to them. Now we have this dynamic marketplace with, like I said, millions of sellers, and that's creating real-time competition. And what we found is even in incredibly mature categories, product categories that we've been selling for decades on our marketplace, price continues to decrease for the consumer. And now we're going to take that, hopefully, and begin to do that for organizations and institutions. And again, you have to do that in a way that is contained and is reflective of the way that organizations, especially government and public sector organizations, purchase. That's why we partner with U.S. Communities. But we believe that over time, And in some instances, for certain institutions and certain categories, maybe even immediately, that's going to create not only an efficiency of purchasing, so you don't have to go out and do these long-term complicated contracts, but also better pricing for your organization as well. And it is new and it is different, but I think we have early signals that it's working.
And that's actually part of the beauty of the cooperative behind it is that the increase in volume that we'll be able to drive through this contract in turn is going to drive the dynamic marketplace pricing down. So it is definitely a new venture, but it's exciting.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, Sharon, you're doing a drawing. Before you do the drawing, I did want to just offer a thank you on behalf of NACo. I wanted to say thank you to the panel. Dan, sorry about your luggage, but that new suit you bought looks great, and especially like your new shoes. I did want to comment also on Alvarez and JW. Thank you for being on the panel. You know, NACo is using Alvarez to help NACo understand better our financials, how to optimize our organization. Sounds like I lost sound here, but that's fine. So we hope and expect that the Alvarez contract will continue to grow, and we look forward to partnering with you further, JW. And of course, Amazon Business is a real buzz right now, and we had the chance yesterday to talk to our board about U.S. communities, the new contracts that are on the platform, Amazon Business in particular, and it was very well received. So we thank you on behalf of the audience. We'd like to say thank you, and we really appreciate all your great perspectives, our new business relationship, and to a wonderful future. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And with that, we're going to have our drawing, and thank you for your participation. If any of you have questions about U.S. communities and you didn't get the contacts of the folks on the stage, I'm Sharon Russell, and I work for NACo. And you can contact me at any time. Look me up on the website, srussell@NACo. And today we're going to give away, for all your patience with our technology bug, which it seems like those have been going around almost as much as the cold that I've caught, that I've almost lost my voice with. We're going to give away a wireless keyboard for your use, and it's this really cool glass keyboard, which, by the way, you can also buy on Amazon if you don't win it. So, will you draw for me? You still get to win if you draw your name, but you can't look. There you go.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so I just want to say that the U.S. Communities platform has much more integrity than this process did. Okay, so, all right. No, I'm just playing with you. No, Kristen, it was fair enough. What do you think? No? It was fair? Let's take a vote. Let's take a vote. Who thinks it was fair? By applause. Kristen, you're the winner. And you'll forever remember how you got this, right? Yeah. Okay, all right.
Amazon fan, by the way. I am Amazon Prime. And I will say this, I ordered a holiday, well, I do all my holiday shopping by Amazon Prime, you get it in 2 days. One of the things that came was this blow-up bowling set for my daughter, and it was missing the blow-up ball, so it was kind of a bummer to open on Christmas Day, and she couldn't even play with it. I called, and Amazon Fulfillment had it there the very next day. I mean, this was around Christmas. And yes, everybody was bowling in the backyard, so that's Amazon.
Fantastic. Thank you, and
Next
now
year
maybe
we'll
our
deliver by
counties could do
drones.
this. Yeah. All right, thank you so much for your time, and thank you again to our fantastic panel. We appreciate that.